Hi, this is Dana Miller, senior reporter with Hotel News Now, joined by Guillermo Bravo, chief investment officer of Mexico-based FibraHotel. Thank you for joining me for this podcast.
Hi, Dana. Great to be here.
We've got a lot to cover, of course, from investment trends to profitability, and a little bit about how parts of Mexico are rebuilding, of course, after Hurricane Otis. But first, just to give our listeners a quick glimpse into what your company is, and for those who may not be Mexico based, tell us a little bit about Fibra Hotel, just a good quick overview.
Of course, thank you, and it's great to be here. The FibraHotel is a REIT that was born in 2012. We're basically very similar to US style REITs, and so we are hotel owners. We develop, buy, and manage assets. We do not do the management, so we do not do the operating contracts, and we do not have brands. Basically, we work with everyone on that side, and we focus on the hotel ownership and the capital markets perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we've been around for 10 years. We have 86 hotels in 26 states in Mexico. We have over 12,000 rooms. We work with 4 operators and we have over 15 brands. And we are all over the place in terms of types of hotels. We want to be the best investment opportunity for anyone looking at Mexico. And so we have everything from limited service hotels to luxury hotels to all inclusives, beach and business. And so we look to be very diversified across everything. And that's a very, very small overview of FibraHotel.
Good, good. Well, we'll definitely get more into down the line in our conversation about how you really want to be, the main attractor of investors in the area. So awesome. But I was doing a little bit of digging and I saw in a past interview that you had mentioned with us that it was like spring of this year, and you said it was a great time to be investing in Mexico's hotel industry. So now, where we are now, how would you react to that? And how has your investment strategy changed, if it
It's a
has at
super
all?
great time to invest in Mexico, and I could speak about this for hours, but we're strong believers in Mexico, and we're strong believers in the tourism and lodging sectors, and so let me expand on this a little bit. I think I do believe Mexico is one of the best opportunities to invest in hotels, to own in hotels, and also to use the hotels as a service. They have the best value proposition in many cases, and so overall in Mexico, when you look at it top down, first of all, we have a very common culture to the largest feeder markets and the largest spending markets, which is US and Canada. We're less than 5 hour flight from most of the cities to most of the cities here. We have very good connectivity. And we have cultural similarities. We most of the people here in the service industry speak English, and overall in Mexico, we're very well managed from an economic perspective. So the country is very solid macroeconomically. We have been managed by an independent central bank for many years. We have a acceptable or low GDP to debt ratio. We have small
Hmm.
deficits, and so from a macro perspective, it's very good. The most important part about Mexico really is the people, and I think that is something that is not going to change. We have a very dynamic and growing middle class. We have 130 million people, and we have very good demographics. Just to give you an idea, the working age population in Mexico is growing like 1% a year. In
Okay.
Europe and in the US, it's basically flat. In Asia, it's declining. And so this will not change until 2040. So the availability of
Wow.
labor and the quality of labor in the country is something that sets us up to be very strong as a service provider in the future.
Hmm.
And all of this in the context of good relations with the US and Canada, with the nearshoring and with the friendly shoring. And finally, I think the reason people come to Mexico is on top of the people, it's really the experiences. I think experiences is what Mexico is made of. We have everything in a small country. We have culture, food, nature, art, beaches. Another stat: we're number 5 in the world in heritage sites, in World Heritage sites. We're number 5. And again, the good weather and the abundance of options, you can do everything from a budget opportunity to a luxury opportunity, and everything from a beach to a city. So again, what Mexico offers to the world is really interesting. And so what we as investors and as FibraHotel from the market perspective, we have to take advantage of everything that Mexico offers and to provide the right product to people for them to come and for it to be an attractive investment opportunity.
Definitely a lot of diverse demand drivers there. I can see what you mean about going on for hours about that. But so, of course, in the US, there's macroeconomic challenges. I'd love to hear kind of, not to speak bad on Mexico, investing in there, but any, challenges that you are dealing with alongside of all the great things that are going on.
Oh, there's a ton of challenges and there's always opportunities. And
Hmm.
I think as an industry, one of the biggest challenges is people. And again,
Hmm.
that's why I try to speak a little bit about why in Mexico we're somewhat in a better situation than in other places. Here, people are very willing to work in, especially in this segment and in this service and at the right cost. But that's just one of the tailwinds. Clearly, the situation worldwide is very complex.
Hmm.
The economy is not growing as it should, and with interest rates this high, I think people are suffering and they have to make decisions of in what and how to spend their money. And
Hmm.
so it's even more important now to provide the better service and focus on the customer, because the reality is that I think we have been in sort of a unique perspective where anything you did, people wanted to travel, and there was revenge travel and
Yeah.
everything. And now that I don't think that's the case, and I think it's normalizing. I think we need to continue to focus on what we're offering our customers, because it's going to be more challenging. We need to
Hmm.
provide the right service for what they're paying.
Yeah, so kind of getting back to the basics of, we had that inflated, demand and ADR the past, couple years and whatnot. So I guess, like you said, normalization coming into 2024, that will be a little bit of a, adjustment, but nothing you guys can't do. But um so speaking about your portfolio, I see these are numbers as of April 2023 that about two-thirds of the properties are business oriented and then the remaining third focused on leisure. So where does that stand today? And is there any shift within that as you see demand mix evolving and maybe different investment opportunities arising?
Yeah, so that continues to be the same today, but we have
Okay.
a path to grow to maybe make it half and half. So where we are investing is more in leisure, and from our perspective, we can talk in a little bit about how the different destinations or the different types of hotels are doing. But the reality is, from a very simple financial perspective, the only way to invest right now, the cost of financing is very important. So
Hmm.
your return hurdle is very important. In Mexico, interest rates are TAs at around 11.5%. So you
Okay.
need to be looking at investments of 20% or something like that. And if you have one of the big benefits of hotels in Mexico is that you have revenues in dollars and costs in pesos, but you actually do have a income in dollars, and so you can finance that in dollars. And so it makes sense right now to invest more in leisure destinations, because those are dollar denominated assets, and it's a little bit more difficult to invest in business because they're peso
Hmm.
denominated assets and it's a higher return hurdle.
Okay, so maybe being a little bit more strategic and selective in where you invest.
Exactly. I think that's right. It's not that we think that one market is growing more than the other, but the reality is all construction costs have gone up, all return hurdles have
Yeah.
gone up, and where it makes more sense in the marginal investment is in leisure right now.
Okay, and maybe it's a little bit too just kind of following the demand of where people are going. You see a lot, like here in the US, we saw a lot of people, taking more trips to Europe over the summer than staying local. So then, you wonder, okay, are hoteliers going to kind of think about that and maybe choose to invest more in certain markets depending on, where the traffic is flowing. But lots there to kind of think about. But so 2022 was of course, a record year for profitability at FibraHotel. So how is 2023 shaking out?
It's better, but it's not better like in a solid going up line. And the reality
Okay.
is, I think in the whole sector, we had a very strong first half of the year. The winter was very positive for most of the leisure destinations, and the second half of the year has been slower or a little bit rougher. It's still going to be a record year, and we still expect growth. It's just that, as we said before, it's sort of normalizing. We have been used to tons of growth and a lot of benefits in the margin side, and now we're starting to also see some cost pressure. So what we're seeing is the second half of the year has been slower, but it's still going to be a record year for FibraHotel.
Hmm. Is there any like one part of like the P&L that you're like really honing in on? Is it labor costs, wages, anything like that that is something that you maybe have discussed in recent budget meetings that is like, okay, we really need to crack down on this?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things. The first one is we had a unique opportunity during the pandemic. Now, if we remember about everything bad and not the good things that happened, and
Yeah.
we had a unique opportunity of looking line by line, item by item, and seeing things that maybe weren't needed, or that maybe the operators had expected the customers to want it more. And so we had a very big opportunity, and we cut a lot of the costs and made margins better. Some of those things are also continuing to normalize again
Hmm.
because of the service that you need to provide to the customer. So I would say three things that we're really focusing on. The first one is labor. Labor is and will continue to be a relevant issue. And I
Hmm.
think it's not just the labor cost, but it's the training, the retention, and getting the right people. I think those are the things that we're focusing on, but that sometimes leads in the short term to higher cost, but it's better over the long term. The
Okay.
second one is food and beverage. We are seeing higher increases in costs in food and beverage, but we're
Hmm.
also trying to change and differentiate. I think the model of having the old hotel restaurant is out the window also with the pandemic, and so we've done a ton of restructuring in that area and put a lot of thought into how the concepts really appeal to people, and not only in the hotel, but people coming from outside of the
Yeah.
hotel into the hotel. So we
Hmm.
put a lot of thought into that, but there's also some cost pressures there.
Absolutely. And going back to kind of something I'm really excited to talk about is, investment in Fibra. So we saw a lot of large scale investment groups at one point in the past weren't so hungry for investing in those, but that has since changed. So can you tell us a bit about how brands such as Marriott moving into Mexico is really helping to drive that interest among other groups?
Yeah, no, I think let me divide that answer into two parts. First of
Sure.
all, Fibras from an investor perspective and sort of from what you have. And in that sense, Fibras are a really new structure in Mexico. You've had REITs in the US for decades.
Yeah.
And in Mexico, we started 10 years ago. So we used to say we're like little babies. Now we're growing up. Now we're 10 years old. We're like, we're about to become teenagers. So
Yeah.
we might not be good behaving. But no, the reality is that the industry is growing up, and I think it's attracting a lot of interest into the sector. We have a huge opportunity. Retail investment in Mexico is still very in its nascent stages. We have less than all of the REITs have less than 5% from individual investors. Whereas in the US, it makes a ton of sense to have that investment because you get your dividends. So I think for the Fibras as a whole, there's a ton of growth and growth opportunity. And once we get that capital and the right capital, I think we'll have very interesting opportunities to deploy it.
Hmm.
And the second part is from the hotel market. And from the hotel market, I think it's again, we're in Mexico. We love Mexico, and we cannot stop speaking better about Mexico all the time. But the reality is Mexico is a super developed market. I mean, you've
Hmm.
had all of the brands from the highest type of brands. You've had them in Mexico for 30, 40 years, and you've continued to have them come and expand. I think some of the things that you saw recently is not only did the brands come, but I think institutionalization came into the market, and that is
Hmm.
very relevant. For instance, the all-inclusive model has been in Mexico and in the Caribbean for 30 years. And
Yeah.
people at the first, it was like, how do you get some experience at the lowest type of cost? And it didn't appeal to many customers. It appealed to some customers, but that has evolved very much. And now we see Hyatt buying Apple Leisure Group. Now you see
Yep.
Marriott doing very big transactions, both with in the business side, but also in the all-inclusive. And so what you're seeing is that not only is the market there and good, because again we've had a lot of product. If you go to Los Cabos, any luxury brand, I think there's very limited number of luxury brands that are still available in that market.
Hmm.
But the reality is that it has become a lot more institutional, and I think that's very powerful for Mexico and for the perspective it gives, because as you said, it's they're actually putting their own capital, which is very rare for some of these companies, and betting on the country.
Yeah. So what does it really take nowadays to get deals done? Would you say, is it long-term relationship based? How do you guys put yourselves out there and win that deal?
It's very difficult because when you're coming off of record years for everything, everybody's is having the sugar high that everything is going to be good, and a lot of the market here continues to be private. Some of because of the investments have been so profitable for so many years. There's a
Hmm.
lot of hotels that have been developed by families and by private groups, and that they've done so well that they don't need to buy, and the market is also a lot less I'm not going to say over levered, but levered in general. So there's
Okay.
very limited distress opportunities, and so the only way to really get a deal is to have a relationship based off market deal, and it takes a lot of time. That's why we also do ground up development. That's a little bit strange for a REIT that's supposed to
Yeah.
provide stabilized dividends, but it's because the real opportunities take a long time. They're relationship based, and you have to get everything right for these deals to fall.
Okay, development. That is interesting. So, I mean, how's that going in Mexico? Because of course, there's high construction loan costs in the U.S. and supply chain and all that stuff that you're dealing with. But I'd love to kind of hear the landscape that you guys are seeing.
I mean, construction is difficult as any sector, but it's you have very big opportunities here in Mexico. Costs have gone
Hmm.
up a lot, but again, the availability of labor force, and in many cases, and especially in some locations, the red tape is less in Mexico than what you see in other places. There's still a lot of bureaucracy and even some corruption in many places, but the
Hmm.
reality is that the you can get things done if you have the right project in the right place. There's financing, there's people that have a that again since the industry is so large, you can find any type of product. You can find you don't need to go to a lot of places to import what you need to construct. So you can do everything from a luxury hotel to a limited service hotel, and if you do it
Hmm.
right and with the right planning, it's very efficient. And that's how the group was born. Just to give your listeners a little bit of how the group was born. The
Yeah.
group started developing with its own money. The owners started their first hotel in 1994, and with their own funds and friends and family, they developed one hotel. With the money they built a second one, and they did that with 17 hotels in 17 years.
Wow.
And so that was until 2012. And this is what the institutional capital does. We went from 17 hotels, and in 10 years, we have 86. So
Wow.
that's a good story.
Amazing. Yes. So the capital is there. Awesome. So, kind of on the topic of construction, so, in light of Mexico kind of seeing an increase in volume of pretty powerful storms resulting in more need to pay attention to building structures, I'd love to hear anything that you're hearing within the hotel industry from maybe like climate experts or architects and engineers about rebuilding efforts, and if that's causing your team to kind of shift the way you think about deals as this comes up more.
Yeah, I think that let me see if I can get that in three different parts. The
Okay.
first one is in construction and development, and I think there's been a shift in how things are built. Many of the hotels in Mexico, because they're very sturdy, and they were built with more concrete block, less drywall and things like that. So it's a very solid structure. I think a lot of the things that we're building now, we're building in a different way with lighter materials, and but now we're planning for things that are going to happen. So we have a very strong ESG mandate from our investors and our founding group, and we need to look at it from that perspective. So every investment we make, we take a look at what can happen, how climate could impact it, and it's not you do have storms, but you have a floods, you have lack of water, there's
Hmm.
several risks that actually I invite people to go into our website and look at our ESG reports, because they'll find many of these climate risks and how we attach them, how we put the monetary value to them. But the reality is we do need to take this into account, and it's very interesting because it changes how you think about the investment in the hotels.
Hmm.
And On the reconstruction efforts, I mean, it's a tragedy what happened to Mexico, and not really to the hotels and to the institutional side, because we have insurance, we're going to get paid, it's going to be closed for some months, and we're going to reopen them, and I think things are going to be fine. But
Hmm.
most of the people, their homes where they live, they don't have insurance. That's not common in Mexico.
Okay.
There's no water there, so it's going to be a massive effort. It's a tragedy,
Hmm.
but the only thing I can say is it's also an opportunity. So if
Yeah.
we build Acapulco the right way, I mean, it's always been a paradise. It's sort of lost its glamour, that the one it had in the 70s. But if we do it the right way, and if the government helps, and if everyone pushes the or pulls the wagon in the same way, I think it's also an opportunity to get it right and bring back tourism to that beautiful place.
Right. We think about how much of it was a tourist destination in the past. And, like you said, it's a tragedy that people are displaced from that. And I hope that it does get back to a state that it was in. But thank you for sharing that about how you guys are kind of assessing that. Um, so yes, like you mentioned, ESG, so company-wide sustainability initiatives. I'd love to kind of hear, anything new that you guys are adding into this. You said it's really coming from your investors and whatnot, and mandates from that. But kind of tell us when this all started, how it's going, anything else you want to mention on that.
Yeah, so we've had. I mean, hotels are very good at this. People forget, but everything that we've done for many years, from controlling electricity to water to gas. I mean, first of all of the time it was more of a cost equation, because the less you spend on utilities, the
Yeah.
more you bring back. But I think that thing has brought in a ton. Now, and not only our investors, but the clients also care about it. They don't pay for it yet, but
Hmm.
they care about it a lot, and I think it's the right way to do it, because that's what we believe. So you add more things like waste and certifying your properties to useless things, and the other thing that's not as much talked about, but I think it's very relevant, going back to one of the big problems that as an industry we're going to face in the future, is the social aspect, and how you treat employees, and how they
Hmm.
contribute to their own communities, how they give back. I mean, in many places in Mexico, you have a hotel in a small town, and the hotel is the main gathering point, or one of the gathering points for the people, and so it's an important site. And so how you give back to that community, how they become involved in social things, how you start training people for them to have that service orientation, and how to have clients have that experience you have, and you start doing that the right way, and planning it. And I think we've done a lot of things as an industry, but just putting it down into paper,
Hmm.
and how we do it, I think that's been very useful. And again, for us, it's a big focus, because I think it's right now it's like a good to have, but we do believe that's the way that it's going to be in the future.
Yeah. So not only a good to have, but a need to have, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
again, it's a win-win. We don't believe. I mean, it's sort of been. I think the word has been. I don't know how to say it, but it
Okay.
has a bad reputation now. But
Yeah.
the reality is, everybody wants that. It's again, thinking about how you react to disasters, or once, if you have an earthquake, where are you gonna take people, and how are you going to?
Hmm.
What are the safety measures that you're going to? Thinking about things like that, it's actually beneficial to everyone.
Awesome. So my last question for you, I'm kind of excited about this one, but what are you most looking forward to in 2024 in the lodging industry?
We're excited. I
Yeah.
think that the industry has evolved a lot. I do think that there's some headwinds, and you've heard it from the operating companies and from the big companies. And I think,
Hmm.
again, we mentioned the economy is not as strong as it should be, and the consumer is going to have to make more choices. I think one of the things that we realized this year is seasonality is back in a big way. See, before, you used to have more of the leisure, and they would go 1 or 2 weeks, and all of the year in 2022, we had full the hotels, and now you're starting to see more of what was back to normal, in a sense that you now need to focus more on groups in certain months, and so I think that is something that is a reality that we're starting to live to live again. We're not looking forward to that. We prefer when everything was full.
Yeah.
But no, I think again, what I'm looking forward to is what I said. I think that we need to go back to focusing on the customer. I think it's not when the water goes down, as Warren Buffett said, you see who has a swimsuit. And so what we need to have is the right swimsuit in offering the right value to the customer that comes, and for them to get the right experience. And I think that's going to differentiate the winners from the losers in 2024 and in the coming years, because again, it's not going to be as simple, but there's a lot of demand out there that you just need to find the right way to how to get that demand and get them happy and get them to come back. And so it's sort of again, now that it's more of time, what I'm looking forward to is how we position the company to compete in this environment and take market share from competitors.
Well said, Guillermo. And yes, we do all need to have our right swimsuit on. So, well,
That's important.
yes. Well, is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap this up?
No, thank you for the time. We're very, again, just the commercial on the company. It's FibraHotel.com, the website. Anything you guys, any suggestions or anyone that wants to ask the company, we're always open to anything. And thank you for the space and the time. It's been great having this chat.
Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Isaac Colazo, Vice President of Analytics at STR.
Hi, and I'm Jan Freitag, National Director for Hospitality Analytics for the CoStar Group. Tune in to our new show, Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast.
It's a podcast on the global hotel industry, its current trends, what we're thinking about, and where the industry's going.
And we like to have fun with the data too. Find us on hotelnewsnow.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe today.
This episode of the Hotel News Now podcast was recorded on November 16, 2023 by Dana Miller. The episode was edited and mixed by Trevor Simpson. Find all Hotel News Now podcasts wherever you listen and subscribe by searching for Hotel News Now. Visit hotelnewsnow.com for the latest global hotel industry news. Thanks for listening.